Alright, what's up guys? It's Andrew with Long Range Gear. Today we have an NV5600 to tear down. This one's in pretty rough shape. It was came from a local guy. He said it locked up on the freeway, or on the road I should say. So presumably it ran low on oil. The reason we're doing a teardown on this, besides the obvious carnage that's going to take place, this is the small input. This came out of a 99 model. It's a small input. It's 1.25 inches. It's the same size as an NV5500 would have from the factory, which means this is also going to have the old gears and the old synchronizer setup. So externally it's okay. We're going to tear into it now. I'm going to narrate while Zach does the work here. So go for it, bud. Tear into it. So we're going to start by taking out the bolts on the inside of the bell housing, just to speed up the teardown process. There's a handful of 13 millimeter bolts to go all the way around the perimeter. Don't remove the input retainer that I'm pointing right at here. You don't want to remove that right now because then everything will start falling out of the bottom. It'll be a big mess. But just so that we only have to stand this transmission up once, we like to remove all the bolts out of the inside of the bell housing. Now Zach's going to show everybody how strong he is. Scared me. You got it?
Yeah. Oil.
There we go. Sorry. Somebody did weld in a temperature sensor. It's now telling us that it's something to do with the oil leak. This one should have quite a bit of carnage inside. It's a pretty gross case. Like, you can see this rust is just flaking off everywhere. Yeah, we'll needle scale it. We'll make it look good again. So Zach's taking off all the tail housing bolts. These are all 15s. It can be kind of grimy, obviously, and then because it's so close, sometimes you get a little bit of casting shift or some crap back behind the bolts. You really got to use like a 12 point to fit it. God, this thing is gross. I can already smell the nasty gear oil. These tail housings have anaerobic sealant between the flanges, and after 20 years or whatever, it really locks on. So we have this big OTC puller. Comes right up. So it does like to get hung up on the idler. There's a big idler pin, so sometimes you just got to put a pry bar in there to kind of persuade it to come up the rest of the way. Looks like Zach's got it loose. You get our first glimpse inside this thing. No carnage yet. She's a stinky pig. So I'm not seeing nothing real obvious. That's grit. Something's broken somewhere. So we're removing the reverse countershaft and reverse idler. He's got the thrust washers and the spacer and the needle bearings. Now he's going to remove the rear bias. Okay. Now, ooh, can you shake that back and forth? Kind of. Yeah, it's a good indication that that bearing is unhappy. Okay, so we got our nice little socket. Okay, so we removed the main shaft nut, exposing the bearing on the back. How's that bearing feel?
Great.
Yeah? Okay. Something made it. And then
the reverse washer has...
Oof. Yeah. So this taper is supposed to be there on this side, but that's not supposed to be. Yeah. I like it when they get ran low on oil. It's this is, so we own this transmission now. So I am being a little bit of a smart aleck. Not super happy. She on there good? You want to get a second pry bar and I'll pull from this side? Oh, man. Is the race coming with it?
The bearing did.
Oh, yeah. Ooh. The gear itself discolored. Oh, man. Yep, those teeth are just wiped. Oh. Dunzo. These look okay though, at least initially. Oh, yep, we smoked that reverse hub. Womp womp. Okay, so we're gonna punch this roll pin here in the reverse fork. So some of the common failures, like this is going to be pretty much what you see throughout the transmission when it gets ran low on oil. There's, you know, this is spinning at engine RPM in the opposite direction, you know, whenever your foot's off the clutch. So with a lack of lubrication in there, obviously they're going to chew into each other. So this is going to be a kind of the trend that we see throughout this transmission, unfortunately. If the case is usable, we're going to actually end up using... If the case is usable, we're going to end up using the case to... Oops. What the heck's going on here? Lots of grime on it. If the case is usable, we're actually going to build this today for... former LRG co-owner Wyatt is coming out to visit. We're going to build him a 6-speed. So obviously I picked the worst core to start with. You know, you want me to take a side?
Yeah, you want to.
Okay. So we're just anticipating this is going to be a pain in the butt. Ooh. Hey, at least it came off.
Look at that.
What's it? Oh, the shaft? Is that what you're talking about? Oh, the bearing. Duh. Yeah. So this is what we call a failure. So we add some channeling on the inside, like back on the inside of the transmission. We add some channeling to like where these. So this is a pocket on the opposite side, and this is a protrusion. So on the pocket, fluid will gather there, and we'll cut some grooves to help channel the fluid that gathers into this bearing. So even if it runs low on oil, at least it helps get something. So this is the snap ring. Came right off. cage collapsed, so this main shaft's probably ruined. Normally when the cases are bad, we'll see, like with this, we'll see cracks like right here. This case might have made it. It definitely got hot. It probably wasn't gonna last much longer in this condition. But we might have made it. Oh. So Zach is removing the last of the bell housing bolts from the outside here. I'm trying to move stuff out of his way. Wyatt's going to show up here in a minute and see us tearing down his core, and he's going to be pissed that this is the one we're picking. He'll get over it. We'll make it beautiful. Okay, so now we're gonna lift the case up. So we got these cool little lifting fixtures. We'll have to drive that roll pin out. We're gonna have to remove this shift rail anchor bolt, and then she'll come right up. You can see it's already starting to separate. We're losing oil out from between the two. So I'm gonna keep sipping my Monster here while Zach gets that set up. Zach is the newest builder here at Long Range Gear with plenty of 5600s under his belt. Working pretty good. He started off just doing teardowns, and he's got it down pretty fluid. We're really happy to have him here. So right now he's punching out that roll pin using either a 3/16 or 5/32 punch. Sometimes, especially when it got ran low and ran hot, sometimes like all these little fasteners can be a real bear. Like that one hit the gear. So you're just gonna turn the shift rail, knock it loose, and then we're gonna spin the lug 180 degrees to clear the case. He's got that out, and now he's gonna raise the case up. Oh yeah, he's gonna remove the detent plunger, spring, and plug that rides on the shift rail. So when you move the shifter forward and back, those little slots, which you might be able to see, those little slots are what you feel when you're doing that. So it's always important to keep those springs and detents in really good shape to maintain a really good shift feel. If it gets your shifters really sloppy, there's a whole bunch of things that could make that happen, but weak springs on that detent, and then there's one in the tail housing wherever it went, does the same thing. So we've got ourselves a nice little hoist on the rafters. It's coming loose. Wonder what kind of metal we're gonna find, huh? There we go. Finally broke off the dowels. And away we go. Oh, we probably locked on that bearing, huh?
Just a little bit. We started to pull the race out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no. So, the roll pin we knocked out is in there. carnage than I thought. Kind of figured that. Ooh, I spoke too soon. That's a good one. Yeah. So these are the rollers in the bearing. They're like little squares now. Oh, do your thing. So normally, first gear's not seized up. Not to say it isn't damaged, but it's not seized at least. Who knows? Maybe the main shaft made it. I doubt it, but maybe. So the next steps from here on out, we're going to remove these. Sometimes they're 10 millimeter, sometimes they're 13 millimeter. These bolts for the 5.6 crossover cam. Then we're going to lift the shabs up. We're going to remove the shift rails. I really hope that these all made it, because look at this gunk. Just chunks of metal. At one point in time, this was a high quality Timken bearing. That day is past. At one point, this was a good snap ring. Yeah, look at that cage. Wow. Look at that cage. Yeah, so we really like to run 6 quarts in these. We tell all of our customers, you know, that buy either a transmission or a rebuild from us, that's what they have to do to maintain their warranty. 6 quarts. Obviously, make sure there's no leaks. If any leaks are present, we obviously will fix them. Warranty, but we want to do it immediately. If you put it off and put it off and put it off, obviously this can happen. We don't want it. Look at that, it's like warped. Holy crap. Wow. So he's busting the 5.6 crossover loose. Okay. So that's the only thing that really affixes the shift rails, and it doesn't even really do that. It just fixes that that bar that cantilevers there. And that kind of holds the shift rails in place. So we got this nice fixture. It's a Miller Tools item. Kind of helps balance. You can see the mounting point is slightly offset. I think I just heard Wyatt pull up. He's gonna love to see his new transmission. Do you have clamps? So one quick identifier, if you can put like a camera, like if you're worried looking at a transmission, you're worried if it's old or new. The old style, and not all of them, but for a long run of them, these old style gears have got squares where the synchros fit into. So if you look down inside your transmission and see a 6 gear that looks like this, congratulations, you have an old style. Which just means you either have to use the shims to correct the synchronizer setup, or replace 3rd gear, 4th gear, the input shaft, and 6th gear, and reverse. 1st and 2nd, it doesn't matter. You can run the old style gear with new synchros on 1st and 2nd, because 1st and 2nd have an inner synchronizer that is used as the bottom limit for the synchronizer. So old style 1st and 2nd, you can throw a new synchronizer in, bolt the transmission all back together, you'll hop in it, 1st and 2nd will work flawlessly. just as if, you know, it was designed that way. Third, fourth, fifth, which is the input shaft, sixth gear and reverse will all feel like horrible grinding and scraping, and it's like it won't synchronize at all, because really it isn't. Shift rails are a little worn, but I'm not feeling any like huge grooves or anything, so I think they're okay. Usually when we run low on oil, the counter shaft components seem to make it, because the counter shaft, even if there's low oil, there's some oil usually, and in that case it's going to be on the counter shaft, or at least touching the counter shaft stuff. The main shaft, this one is obviously the highest point and hardest to lubricate, and that's why it dies first. And then the bell housing will channel oil to this front bearing, so it normally lives even in a low oil situation. It obviously got a little warm, it's like damn near black, but you know, this fluid smells terrible. It smells like opening a rear diff. So now Zach is moving to our little stand. So this is a Miller Tools item. It's absolutely invaluable, but if you had, you know, old bearing race or something, you could easily make a stand just like this without any issues. Okay, so now we're unbolted. I'm gonna look at this for a minute. Okay. So these bell housings, oof. It's pretty gross, but you can see the oil just dripping out of there, right? So even in a low oil situation, this point right here and this point right here will collect oil that's being flung around. And from here, it channels down right back behind here in the input retainer. It will fill this hole behind this disc. It will fill this whole thing, and once the fluid's high enough, it will spill out of there and into the input shaft. This goes down the retainer, comes through this little channel, this little port, and it will actually fill the counter shaft and lubricate the 3 forward bearings, needle bearings, through the hollow counter shaft. It's a kind of a cool design. Seems a little bit more complicated than it needs to be, but it seems to work really well when there's oil in it. Okay, we're gonna use a big press today, Zach. I think
why not?
It's set up to, I took that one main shaft apart earlier today, so it's at a good level. Do you wanna take them?
Yes, we'll do the main first.
Okay. I'm just really curious to see if the main shaft lived or not. It would be very, very nice if it did. Okay, oops, sorry. Okay. Judging by the color of that 5.6 hub, I'm gonna guess, oh, it's not as bad as I thought. Okay, so we talk about new and old style. I've obviously done videos about this in the past. You can do your thing, I'm just gonna talk over here for a minute. So the synchronizer with these little humps on this side, this is worn down really bad because normally these humps are a little bit bigger. You know, you can see it's just beaten flat. But these are old style, and these little humps fit in these little recessions right here. So it might be hard to see on camera, but like this is flat, this has a groove. This is flat, and this has a groove. So those humps, when they're big enough, they sit right there, and that's the bottom limit for the synchronizer, right? And you can take a blocker ring and push down. Obviously, this is completely worn out. It's not going to synchronize, but if this was at least healthy, well, actually, you know what? I'm going to go to my wall. I did salvage some good ones. See, this has got much bigger humps. Might be able to display how this is supposed to go. See? now it locks. So the blocker ring locks to the synchronizer, locks to the gear. And that's how you speed this up in order to shift. So when they get worn out and worn flat like this one, it's not going to do that. So this lower limit is no bueno. Anyway, that's how that works. The new style synchronizers are just flat like this all the way around. And this recession doesn't exist. And the whole flat flange, you can see there's like a ridge right there. On the new style, the ridge is all the way to the outside. So when you set this on there, that's the bottom limit, and it fits very well with the blocker ring. So you can lock them together. Ready to go? Okay. We're moving over to our big press here. What's up?
I think I used one.
Yeah. So, Zach's just getting it all squared up. We don't really know how much force it's going to take to press this apart. It really just depends on the damage. The race is on there, that's for sure. This press is really a magnificent machine. We got it so that we could disassemble and reassemble G56 shafts. So it looks like we just broke the whole top of the gear off. It was like a fuse. Thank you, sir. Wow, look at that. Look at those needles. That's awesome. I think the first gear bearing race is a no-go. Although it's tapered now. Yeah, so pretty common seeing needle bearings do that when you run them low on oil, and it's always first gear. I always keep a couple first gears and 1-2 hubs on hand for this, because this happens far more than it should. And of course, inner synchronizer, inner synchronizer, friction ring, and the outer synchronizer. This is just blazing hot. It's all trash. That hub, super grooved. It's garbage too. We're gonna tell Wyatt that he's got to use it. Yeah, this slider toast on both sides, which is not awesome. No, it's okay on the number 2 side. And then, yep, they got a little cooked. That, I mean, oh yeah, that's no good. That's no good. That's no good. Let's see, did we save second gear? Because you can still use the old style gears. No. A little too beat up for us. Alright, so the 1-2 cluster. Epic fail. Input shaft. Fail. It does have an oil diverter in it, thank goodness. So the oil diverter is one of the most crucial pieces of this transmission, because when the oil spills out of this, it falls into this groove to channel oil through those holes. Well, there's only 2 on these early ones. Normally there's 3, but that's to feed the pilot bearing on the input. So we're gonna go over and join Zach on our small press. He's gonna let the main fall. Yeah. I guess that's fine. Is it trash? Oh, it's trash. Yeah. Okay. Luckily, main shafts aren't the most expensive thing. Oh, dang! Wow, and there's a race there. I guess that's pretty cool. Well, I guess we get to make another shifter. So we take these spline ends and we make shifter knobs out of them because they're already tapped for the right size hole. Anyway. Okay. So this is the pilot bearing that gets lubricated. Those can fail pretty bad. I think this discoloration is just oil. It definitely got a little warm, but we'll have to run this through the parts washer to see how it actually looks. Ooh. Blocker ring, epic veil, and multi-piece synchronizer. So this kind of condition is what got me started in this business. My first NV5600 had a multi-piece 6-gear synchronizer, and I had to learn how to fix it, and I enjoyed it so much that here we are. So this is an unfortunate loss. These OEM main shafts, you know, OEM stuff's just machined better. It's made with better parts, or I'm sorry, better material. So if we can save an OEM main shaft, we really want to. It's really unfortunate that this is so deeply gouged. You know, there's a chance we could, you know, like turn that and get a different raise, but it's just not worth the effort. These mains are only like 250 bucks. Depends on what you do. So everything's toast so far. I bet the cluster's okay though. Another thing that would tend to make these go bad is the grooving on the input right up here. This is otherwise in okay shape. Well, I guess it is 1 1/4 inch, so it doesn't really matter anyway. So the tiny guy. So Zach's removed the snap ring from the end of that cluster. Are you going all the way to that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to move carbon plates.
Yeah, understood. Okay, so these take quite a bit of force to get off. I'm gonna film from this side so we're not in your way. This is our customer transmission waiting area right there. Never mind those autos, those are mine. We're not doing autos yet. I don't know if we ever will. Professionally speaking, I don't enjoy them like I enjoy manuals. Maybe I'll leave it up to Zach. And if he decides he wants to learn automatics, maybe we'll move over to him a little bit. Okay, so this is an old 50-ton Carolina. Sometimes it takes quite a bit of force to break these. It's pretty awesome noise though. We use these Swag arbor plates. They're available at other places too, but we got these from Swag. They are awesome. They're like 1 inch or more thick. They're super heavy. They are ultra stout. We use them to tear apart the G56 countershafts on the big press, and there's no issue whatsoever. They don't flex or nothing. Got it? Looks okay. Well, obviously. Oh. Is that a chip? Yep, that's a chip. Womp womp. We will, even that's a small chip, and it would probably be just fine to file that off if you were doing this at home. Long range gear does not operate like that with customer transmissions that will get a new gear. Our goal is to build them so that we never have to see rear transmission again. And that's just kind of rolling the dice when you want to do that. We may want to, there's not a whole lot of purchase right there. We might want to close up the arbor plates a little bit. There we go. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I just want to make sure third gear could spin.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point to note, Zach. So when you're doing this, if you're putting some arbor plates underneath there, you obviously want it under as far as possible to no, right, it's here now, to get as much purchase under the gear so you don't chip any teeth. Even this gear jumped. But if you do that, if you push it really tight under the force, it can actually grip third gear, and you won't notice, and then you'll take the countershaft out and then accidentally drop the third gear on the ground. And every time that happens, without question, third gear would have been good, and then you drop it and it chips a tooth. So our buddy Wyatt's here, former co-owner of Long Range Gear, still friends, that he just didn't want to do it anymore. But we're going to swap him to a 6-speed today. So this is actually the core we're going to use to build him a transmission. He's not going to like this core. Like a pro. Didn't drop nothing. 6 gear look okay?
Yeah.
Ish?
Ish.
Looks okay-ish. Okay, and now he's gonna put the whole 3/3, 3/4 hub, and 4th gear assembly all under at once. And we're gonna press all of them off together. You're basically pressing off the hub and the 4th gear bearing race. So it really doesn't take much force at all. We're filming. Don't yell any obscenities. You're tearing down your core, Wyatt. It's beautiful. It's absolutely mint.
Okay.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. You can tell he doesn't believe me. It's the video. Yeah, here's some of your bearing, Wyatt.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Just file that back to round.
Yep. It'll run. All right. Let's see what 4th gear has to say. Help me out there. Use your clean, soft hands. Take this apart. Not destroyed. Yeah.
Good style.
Yep. This thing is eating itself for sure. Ran low on oil. Can you pull that up? Hey Zach, would you be willing to tip that case over and see if there's any? Does that race come out? Oh, that's not good. The race fell to the ground. That's not a good sign.
It's sharp.
It's sharp?
I grabbed the inside.
Yeah, we were just gonna have you reuse the bearings like our favorite transmission builder.
Texas builder.
Yeah. These bearings are super. You could reuse them in a stick.
Ooh, that's sharp.
Yeah, not a whole lot is left of this thing, really. The bell housing looks good. The bell housings normally survive. The cases are meh. We'll test fit a new bearing in there, but The old one fell out. I'm not super optimistic. You can see some discoloration in the iron. Tail housing seems fine. Shift rail seems fine. So we're gonna get Wyatt here set up with a 6-speed using this piece of junk. All right, guys. Long range gear, lrgdiesel.com, 509-499-0760. Thanks.